Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. In the 1980s, Montego Bay was steadily becoming the premier center for local music, especially dancehall music, as top-flight sound systems such as Pieces, Tika Music, Soul Fate, African Symbol, and Electro Force were being numbered among the top sound systems across the island.
Find yourself a new road.
Next song, Patron, Michael Rose.
During that period, the city was also giving birth to a number of prominent young singers and DJs who came to the fore, taking the giant step towards stardom. Among those who came to the fore were Pants and Sonny, Cat Pa and Junior History, Jackie Ryder, Bobby Blue, Little Gardy, Lapaleng, First Blood, and arguably most successful of the lot, Child Star, White Mice. However, the person who was making the biggest mark at the time did not live long enough to enjoy the fruits of his labor and realize his fullest potential. That person was none other than Richard Papa Ritchie McKenzie, who at the peak of his powers went to Kingston and won a National Deejay Competition, beating back the challenge of all the top stars in Kingston. As a consequence, he had producers chasing him all over just to have him record on their labels. I first met Papa Ritchie in 1981 when I joined the teaching staff at Montego Bay Secondary School, now St. James High School. He had graduated the year before, but he was always on the school compound, especially when there was a cultural event or a concert. When it came to concerts, he was always willing, ready and available. He had to perform. As an ardent football fan, Papa Ritchie also took great interest in the school's football team. Whenever the team was going to play a match, whether in parish or out of parish, he always made a point of his duty to show up at these games. In fact, if it was not for his music, Papa Ritchie could well have made it on the football field, as he was no slouch with the ball at his feet. He regularly represented his community team, Rosemount FC, and was considered a man for the big occasion, as he would always save his best performances for games against Seba United and Wadada FC, the two top teams in the parish at the time. Football fans from that era probably can still remember some of the big goals he scored at Gerald Park, after which he would leave the park beating his chest saying, "Unless say the boy them can't hold me." Interestingly, my most profound memory of Papa Ritchie had nothing to do with music, it had to do with football. At the time, I was a serving member of the St. James Football Association, and part of my responsibility was to assist with the refereeing of games. At one point in time, I was asked to officiate in games in the Dr. Armstrong Community Football League, which featured teams from his West Central St. James constituency. And one of the scheduled games was a matchup at Albion Community Centre between Norwood and Rosemount, the team represented by Papa Ritchie. On the day of the match, I went to the venue early. The game was slated for 3 p.m, but I was there from 2 o'clock. As I sat there waiting for the time to pass, I saw some members of the Norwood team arrive with some supporters. I subsequently saw some of the supporters hiding machetes in the grassy area around the football field, which got me very curious. At about 2:45, the lanky Papa Ritchie, flanked by some players and supporters from the Rosemount team, arrived at the venue. In an aggressive tone, his first words were, "How will the pussy them where we are going to play there?" I had not yet changed into my referee's kit, and since I was not about to officiate in a civil war, I quietly picked up my bag, walked out to the main road, took a taxi, and left the venue. Until today, I don't know what transpired after I left. But I knew that if I had stayed, I could well have participated in a football civil war. But back to Papa Ritchie and his music. At one point, he had gotten so popular that he was on par with Yellowman. In fact, Yellowman was accused of stealing Papa Ritchie's song, Mr. Chin, which subsequently emerged as one of his biggest hits. Papa Ritchie did not dwell on the controversy for very long. In fact, he felt he was so talented that he had no doubt that he was going to find other hit songs.
Great sounds called a dancehall session. This one comes to rock the nation. Beside a man called Papa Ritchie in a different fashion. Do it down the road when the nights are dead.
Unfortunately, that was not to be. One night in 1987, I was at Soul Faith Lawn in Mount Salem at about 9:30 p.m. when a taxi pulled up and out jumped Little Gardy, who was then one of the promising young DJs in Montego Bay. He was crying and everybody turned to him and asked him, "Gardy, how are wrong?" Suddenly he blurted out, "Them kill Papa Ritchie over Glendevan, a dread slicing throat over a girl." The news of Papa Ritchie's death spread like wildfire all over Montego Bay. As while he was a controversial figure, many persons felt that he had the potential to become Montego Bay's first superstar in dancehall music. Since the death of Papa Ritchie, Montego Bay has given birth to many artists who have gone on to make a name for themselves. Artists such as Jack Cure, Tommy Lee Sparta, and the rising singing star TJ. However, many people still believed that had Papa Ritchie lived, he would have been the biggest star that Montego Bay has produced. In looking back at the life and times of Papa Ritchie and his controversial death, there is no question that he represents one of those unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica. Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. Before you go, please remember to subscribe.